Hey, look what we have here. This 1970 TR6 is getting more and more complete every time we see it. Yep, I'm happy about that. So hi guys, welcome to the next episode of the 1970 TR6, and today we're gonna get back to the mechanical stuff under the bonnet so we can start driving the car soon. Look at that, the weather is fantastic today. I'm hoping by the end of the day to be able to start driving her. So without further ado, let's get crack-a-lacking. So in the last episode we installed the door pulls finally, which allowed us to continue with the rest of the doors, and we installed the door panels, the cranks, etc. And now the doors are complete, and the weather strip, most importantly, everything is assembled here. Carpet is complete. What we're missing there is the dash support, but we're missing the boots for the shifter, so we ordered those. Once they come, we're gonna install them, and then we're gonna continue with the dash support and stereo and some more wiring for the stereo and for the amplifier, speakers, USBs and stuff like that. And that's it for the interior. I think we still have to fasten this panel here. We have to replace the steering wheel. John has a new another steering wheel that he wants to use, so we're going to replace that, and we're going to install a horn button, and we have many other things. Actually, I have a list. You know what, let me pull out the list. Oh yeah, we also installed the mirrors in the last episode. And I can actually see in them, they're not like my Spitfire just for decoration. Anyway, so here I have a list with things that we still need to do. Probably I'm forgetting something, but I tried to put everything here together. To be honest, that adds up to about 20 hours estimate. Of course, we don't know where we're gonna have troubles with something, but if that's anywhere close to reality, I'm really happy. 20 hours and this car is gonna be ready for the road. Oh, we installed this cutting as well in the last episode. Happy about that. Anyways, so I don't feel comfortable like that. So what we have here is, like I said, we're gonna replace the distributor because I have no idea what happened there. Something like I took the internals from one distributor and I put it in another one, and the car runs like crap with it. So we have to run heater hoses to the carburetor manifolds. As you know, these are Weber downdrafts, and they have like a toilet bowl underneath that gets really cold when the car is running. It's interesting. We're gonna get there. We need to install the charcoal canister and the overflow motor in the engine bay. We need to deal with the windshield wipers. We have to find the arms and install spray bottle, make sure that the jets work properly. We need to install seat belts, fasten the rear panels. These are the panels that I'm talking about. Deal with the soft top. So we have a soft top. We're gonna use the old one, and maybe next year John is gonna replace it with a new one. We have to run some wiring for the radio, for the amplifier, and for the USB, the transmission boots that I said already, and the dash support, install the stereo. We have seal moldings for the bottom. We have to install those. The panels, the finishers at the boot, we have a kit that we need to install. The wheel centers and the trim rings we have to install. Replace the steering wheel and deal with the horn button and adjust the headlights. I think that's everything. That's everything that I can remember for now. So it's not much. But like I said, I want to switch back. I want to go and deal with the engine bay so we can make it drivable. Because right now she's running like crap, I'll show you. And deal with the brakes. And then it can go on the road actually. And then we're gonna get back to the cosmetical and dash and stereos and music and stuff like that. So first of all, let me show you how it runs with this other distributor. It hasn't been started. I figured that every morning it needs few taps on the gas pedal for the accelerator pump to squirt some fuel inside. Doesn't sound great, so let's switch back to the original distributor. Okay, I installed this distributor again, and I don't know what the difference would be, but this is what I replaced. You know, everything else that was inside this distributor went back into that distributor, and look at that now. I don't know. What could be wrong here? Like, let's look at it quickly. There's no play on the shaft at all. Has this little play up and down, which is normal. The other one has it too. The weights move, absolutely no problem. Like, what could be wrong? This is the second time I have the same problem. If you remember that mystery non-start video of a green TR6 that was running with one distributor body but not with another, I have absolutely no idea what could be wrong with it. But anyway, I don't want to go too deep. I don't have time for that. I'm just gonna put these parts here so we don't lose them, and we're gonna move on to the next. Okay, so next, let's see if we can tune up the carbs a little bit. We also, well, I figured, now if you touch the bows here, even though the engine ran for a while, these bows are freezing. And believe me, the weather outside is nice. It's probably 25 degrees, but the bows feel like 15. So it is like they get really cold. That's why they have these on both sides, so we can run hot coolant through them. Just like that manifold, we need to warm up the manifolds here, the adapters or whatever they are. So we're gonna have to buy a T and split from here, run it here, then from one carburetor to the other, and then from here out into here maybe, or into this hose, doesn't really matter. This is the return, right? This is where the hot coolant goes to the heater inside, and this is where it returns. Maybe it's a good idea to do that first, eh? Yeah, I think so. Maybe we should tune the carbs up only after we run the hot coolant through them. Yeah, you know what? Let's forget about it for now. Let's deal with the brakes. So we can actually use this car to go to the store and buy 2 T's for here. So with the brakes, what happened was we replaced the whole entire braking system. I mean, new brake lines, and we bled them. We used .5 fluid, brake fluid, and the front brakes work absolutely no problem. The rear ones though, when I was bleeding them with my vacuum pump, fluid was coming, air came out, fluid came out, and it was working fantastic. But when David came to help me to bleed everything with the pedal now, when he was pumping on the pedal, nothing came out on the rear cylinders. It was just coming by gravity when I opened the bleeder. So what I think happened was maybe we have air in the master cylinder in this side. People keep saying that you have to bleed the master cylinder on itself. I've never done that before and never had issues, but here I am with an issue now. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect this line. This is the line for the rear brakes, and I'm gonna put another line that is gonna come back inside, and we will see if when we push the pedal, if something comes out of here, and if it doesn't come out, then we're gonna have to figure out how to bleed it or whatever. Well, look at that. I made this line to put here. It's made out of pure copper, which I know it's not good for brake lines, but when I need little pieces for experiments, it's perfect. So anyway, I took out this fitting and I was ready here to catch any fluid that was coming off. except no fluid is coming off. So that's interesting. Anyway, let's continue with the experiment, but I just wanted to show you that. Okay, the line is installed. It's going to the front brakes compartment here, but if this gets too empty, we're gonna transfer some. Anyway, let's see what's gonna happen. Nothing. How come? I rebuilt this master cylinder, so did I do something wrong? What if we suck a little bit here? Let's see if any fluid is gonna come. How come? That is interesting. So how did I get fluid on the rear wheels? Oh, you know how? When I bled the brakes, if you remember, I had issues with this PDWA. It didn't have the plunger inside, so the front and the rear brakes were connected. So obviously I bled the rear brakes through the front line. Okay, now I still have to install the switch here. I haven't installed it yet. I was testing it to see if it was gonna leak after we replaced the O-rings inside on the plunger, and it doesn't, so I can put the switch back on. But anyways, we did something wrong with this master cylinder. I'm gonna have to go and watch my video and see what I've done there. Okay, I'm looking at this diagram here on the Most Motors website, and what I think happens here is this piston here is not returning. It's too tight and it's not coming back, you know what I mean? So this is your front brakes compartment, this is your rear brakes compartment, and how this piston moves is through this spring. So when you push on the pedal, you push on the front brakes piston, and through this spring you also apply pressure on the front piston, which is for the rear brakes, and that also pushes on this spring. And then when you let go of the pedal, this spring returns this piston. So judging by the fact that the pedal has a lot of movement, I think this piston is too far forward, and this piston has a lot of movement here before it builds up pressure. So I think this piston just needs to return. And how? Well, I don't know, maybe. What if I blow air in this hole trying to return it? So I'm gonna close the cap so we don't make a mess. I'm gonna let it a little bit loose so it loses some air. It should be losing air anyways, but okay, let's see if we're gonna make a mess here. Yes, did you hear that? And now the rear compartment, the level went down a lot. Let's see if now we're gonna have anything here. There you go. So I'm gonna fill it a little bit more, and then we're gonna bleed the rear brakes again now, because we introduced some air here, right? And before I forget, I'm gonna try to reset this plunger here, you know, because now the pressure from the front brakes pushed it that way. I'm sure if we put the switch, the light is gonna come on and it's gonna remain on when we start the car. Let's see. So you see the switch is installed and I connected it. There's, just so you know, there's two pins here, but it doesn't matter which one you use. Some people think that they need to have two wires here. No, it's only one wire. I have no idea why there are two pins, but what happens is the switch connects both pins at the same time to ground. That's it. It's not a switch between the two pins here. It is a switch between ground and both pins at the same time. So anyway, let's see what's gonna happen now. There you go, the light remains on. If we disconnect this here from ground, the light is off. If we connect it back to ground, the line is on. So I don't know how well that's gonna work, but we just need to slide the plunger towards the front brakes. Oh, I think we just did a little bit. It's possible that this was gonna happen on its own once we bleed the rear brakes and we equalize the pressure on both sides. I actually never dealt with that, so I don't really know, but we'll see. If it doesn't reset now, we're gonna bleed the brakes and we'll see what's gonna happen then. Now it comes off, so we did reset it. Good. Now I'm gonna bleed the brakes with the vacuum pump again, so I don't activate the switch again. Alright, so I bled all the brakes with the pump, the rear brakes. Actually, I let them go by gravity a lot, and then I pumped a little bit more with the pump to make sure that there's no more air. And then just to finalize everything, I called my son Nick, and he pumped on the brakes, and I went all over the four wheels and I bled them again. So now the pedal is firm and we are great. While the wheels were off, I installed also the trim rings and the center cups, and she looks amazing. I made sure to install them the right way, not upside down, because sometimes I do that and then I have to take them off, you know. And I think we are ready for a test drive. I mean, let's see what's in the list actually. So replace distributor, done. Tune up carbs, we need the hoses for their need. For that we need to go to the store, and I want to use this car to go to the store, but it is not safe to go on such a long trip yet because it doesn't have seat belts. Rear brakes, done. Run heater hoses to the carbs, that's part of the tune-up. Charcoal cairn, soft top radio. So let's go for a quick test drive to make sure that she stops well, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna deal with the seat belts so we can actually go on the road legally. All right, so the seats are still not mounted, so I'm low and too far forward, but it's okay for a quick drive. Perfect. All lights come off. All the gauges work. Wow, we don't have much gas. Still going up, but we should go to the gas station as well. But not now, when we go to the store. Okay, so whoops. Perfect, no problems. Okay, all right, I'm dealing with the seat belts, and we have 4 of these, what are they called, retainers, and I think I'm gonna install these 2, or was there another one? Yeah, because these 2 are faded, that's the only difference. This one somehow got shortened here, but we're not using this wiring because we don't even have a warning light here for seat belts. Somehow all 4 have the wiring, so we're just gonna cut it off from these 2 and we're gonna use this. As for the actual seat belts, we also have 4 here. All of them are pretty faded. However, these two are pretty well seized. These two are still moving, but don't retain very well. That's a very common problem with these. I've tried that before for another car. I took the covers off and I lubricated everything, and that didn't help a lot. But I'm still gonna try with these. I'm gonna take them apart. I'm gonna spray some WD-40 inside, and hopefully that's gonna help. We'll see. I don't know how well you saw, but I took this side out, and this is where the spring is, which obviously lost a little bit of the tension over the years. So I took the end out and I made 3 or 4 more turns on the spring, and I locked it again. So now it actually retracts pretty well. Of course, it only goes up when this weight is down. You see, this weight locks it. If it is a little bit on an angle, if the car is on an angle, that locks the seat belt. Supposedly safety feature. If you're rolling around, the belt is locked, right? Okay, I just realized something here. This is a 1970 TR6, and I didn't know that, but it looks like it used to have only a 2-point seat belt between there and this hook here. You know, those type of seat belts that you hook up here, and that's everything, because it doesn't have the mounting bolt here. You see, there's nothing. It needs to be somewhere here, but there's nothing. That's interesting. So now we need to drill our own holes and put a big nut in the back. Dun dun dun. But it also needs to have a hole here for this part. Like this part needs to be somewhere here, and the seat belt is right here. So do we drill those? I have to talk to John. Alright, I spoke to John, and for now we're gonna install these ones, and maybe later he's gonna buy a kit. It's expensive though, it's like $300 for the kit, for the new ones. So for now we're gonna put this. Like we said, we're gonna have to drill holes and mount this here, and this guide is gonna be mounted here on this flat spot. But this needs to be able to swivel a little bit. Usually how they are mounted is with bolts that have a shoulder, which shoulder bottoms up at the wheel well before it tightens this too tight. You know what I mean? It remains a little bit loose and it can swivel on this shoulder. We don't have these bolts, so we're gonna have to fabricate something. I actually found the bolts in his parts, but you see this one is not great. It's been mangled, but it is what it is. The other one is better. And yeah, it turns out that not the bolt has a shoulder, but the spacer is gonna have a shoulder. So let's fabricate spacers for here. Okay, so this is what I made, and if this goes here and the bolt goes on the other side and we bolt it here, now this thing is not going to be pinched, so it's going to be able to swivel. Okay, I'm an idiot. I'm complete idiot. I just figured out what's going on with these seat belts. On the early cars, the belts were not retractable. They were still 3-point belts, one point there, 1 point here, and there was a point here as well, and this was the third point. There was no mechanism here to be mounted there, that's why there's no hole there. And how I figured that out? Because after I drilled this hole, I went to put the nut underneath, and ta-da! What is this, Elin? Are you blind? Oh my god, I'm so stupid. Anyway, it is what it is. I drilled the hole already and I mounted it, so now we have to plug this other one. It's still solid there, it goes through that big plate. But how did I not see that? I was looking down there for a hole and I couldn't find it, but it never occurred to me that I should actually look up and find this hole, because that's how they were. They were just not retractable, and that's why they had only 3 mounting points. On later cars they put the 4th mounting point there for the mechanism. But anyway, it is what it is. I think I'm gonna do it the same way there though, because this is better. This is actually better, because on the 73 TR6 that I restored once upon a time, this was a problem, that this was too far in, and when it's too far in, this slot here was coming right on top of the piping and it was getting tight. Here this is gonna be loose, so that's how I'm gonna leave it, and I'm even gonna do the other one the same way. Anyway, it is what it is. We drilled 2 extra holes that we shouldn't have. Here though, we still need to drill the holes. Oh, and down there I took out this hook. I was gonna use a bolt, but I couldn't find a bolt this size, so I just reused the same hook. We're gonna tighten it later. For now it's just finger tight, and I also twisted the belt somehow, so I have to undo it again and twist it, or undo the bottom. It's twisted. Okay, that's better. Untwisted the belt. Now everything is in the right twistation, orientation. Perfect. So now I can tighten all the bolts. This doesn't retract more than that, but that's how it is designed. It doesn't retract more than that, so I don't know, because normally there's a hold down, or whatever you want to call it here, that when you come out of the car you just poke it here and that's where it stays, but on many cars it's missing anyway, so that's why it doesn't retract more than that. So one is done, let's do the other one. Alright, so this side is installed as well, works like a charm. Perfect. So now, I said that this was the last thing that we need to do before we can actually take the car for a longer drive, but we obviously need seats as well, right? And we can easily install them, but we're gonna have to take them out again one more time after that, and I don't want to do that. There's few things that we still need to do on them though. So this is the driver's seat, and as you can see here, this needs to be fastened somehow. I think the clip here ripped off from here, so we will see what we can do about that. But that's not the main issue. The main issue is that these seats recline, right? But the reclining handle has been cut off. I have no idea why, but somebody cut it off, and that's ridiculous. How do we fix it now? All right, you can see it better in this orientation. So this is a square bar that comes up, and the handle is here. When you lift up, that releases the locking mechanism and lets the seat recline back and forth. The problem is I don't have a square bar. Also, how do we weld it here? Like, I guess I'm just gonna tuck my welding blanket here and we're gonna be able to weld it. Shouldn't be too hard. well, let's start by finding what we can use. And I don't know if we have more of these handles. We will see. Maybe this one is going to be for the passenger seat, so you can see it this way, because this way, that's paint here. Anyway, let me find something that I can use as a square bar. Alright, as we all know, inside every round stock is hiding a square stock, right? Except that would be too much work, and we need much bigger round stock than this. And I don't have anything bigger than that. Like, I have graded bolts that I don't want to destroy, or I'm not even going to be able to machine that, and it's way too much work. How about this? This square stock? No, I'm not ruining my look. How about this square stock? It's kind of ruined already, but this is my special tool. I cut it this way for a reason, so I'm not ruining that. How about this? Ha! Perfect. However, we can't weld this, at least not with my MIG welder. But what about this? This is already broken. It won't hold inside my tool, it just comes off. And it's kind of cheap. Problem is, it doesn't fit. I don't know how this 3/8 fits here. This doesn't, but you know what, but that's not that hard to grind a little bit, make it fit. We're gonna leave the bow there just so we can click in place. And of course we're gonna drill a hole at the end, and we're gonna tap threads, even though they're gonna go through the spring of this bow, but doesn't really matter. Problem is we only have one, but that's fine, we can make one, and then we're gonna go to the store, as we keep saying, and we're gonna buy another one. Probably it's gonna be $3, $4, $5, that's all. So okay. That was an epic fail. I made it fit inside the handle. The problem was when I started drilling the hole, it's a little bit off center, but I drilled it through this hole when this was inside, so that was gonna work. The problem is I hit something hardened inside, and I thought it was the steel bolts. So I ground the end here and got rid of the bow and the spring, but still I couldn't drill here. I broke 2 drill bits and just couldn't drill through this part. So I decided with my acetylene torch to anneal it, and I melted it literally, and still I can't drill that. So in this case, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna clean up the car. I'm gonna mount at least the driver's seat. It's 2 bolts, right? So I'm gonna put it on so I can drive the car. I'm gonna put the front license plate on, and we're gonna go to the store, and I'm gonna find something there, square stock or something that I can use for that. All right, it's another day. It's actually a week or so later. I even had to go and watch my last clip that I filmed about this car to remember what I was doing here. But I was talking about going to the store buying square bar, but I didn't go that day, not with this car anyway. And then we went on vacation with my family. We came back, and now I'm finally starting to work again. So it's been 10 days, I guess. But in the meantime, I was in the store once for something else, and I remembered that I needed this square stock. So we bought 2. I don't remember what size I needed, so I got, I believe this is 5/16 and this is 3/8. I'm gonna see which one we're gonna use. We also got the boots for the transmission, and now when I'm looking at them, this carpet is gonna need to be cut out a little bit more there, because they didn't know how big that hole needed to be. But anyways, so we're gonna continue with that today. Maybe I should do the seats first or the boots, I don't know. I think video wise it makes sense to continue with the seats, because that's what we were doing in the last one. So let's pull the seats out again and continue dealing with them. Yeah, the 3/8 was the right size and it fits pretty well in both directions, but it doesn't fit straight here, because here we have rounded edges, and here this is pretty square. So we have to turn just the edges a little bit down so we can fit the handle. The thing is though, in the 3-jaw chuck, it won't fit. To install my 4-jaw chuck there and put this square in, it's gonna take too long, and then I have to reverse it. And just for this little job, I'd rather go do it on the bench grinder. But what I did was, once upon a time, because I'm cheap and I haven't bought a collet chuck yet, I made myself this ER32 collet holder, which was square here in the back for indexing 90 degrees. So I turned it around and I hold it on my 3-jaw chuck, and I just use it as collet holder. I know this is not accurate because my 3-jaw chuck is not very accurate, obviously. And once you take something out of it, you can't put it the same way. Don't judge too hard. This is just a temporary tool until I bite the bullet and buy a collet chuck. I know this is also not the best option, installing square stock into an ER32 collet, but we are not looking for precision here at all. I just want to turn it very little, right? So the handle can fit. So for this job, this setup is good. Okay, that's good. Now we're gonna drill a hole and tap it for a screw to hold it in place, and then we're gonna weld it. Okay, we have the seat, and I wrapped it here as well as I could with the welding blanket, and we're gonna weld this piece here. So we need to be careful about the position, because obviously we don't want the handle to go up or down. We want it to be parallel to the seat. So you can kind of see here where the square used to be before, and I also tested it with the handle to make sure that I'm not wrong. So now I'm just gonna weld it. Okay, that's not too bad. And to be honest, I wanted it to be a little bit lower, but somehow it ended up a little bit too high. It's not bad. I mean, it's not going to be in the way of anything, but I think it was supposed to be a little bit lower, but it is where it is. One is done. Let's do the other one. And then we have to also assemble this mechanism here to lock the seats when they are down, you know. Okay, this mechanism is installed on this seat as well. So these are the little hooks that hook up to the back of the rails. So we have to adjust those as well. This works now. And here we are missing the handle like this. That can be installed later, and when we find it, or when John finds another one from somewhere. So that's it. Once it is ready, I'm gonna install it in the car, and I'm gonna do the other one on my own, and we're gonna move on to something else. All right, the other seat is assembled as well. This one has the handle. The hooks are hooking, and I fixed a little bit. The vinyl here and there was hanging, like here, for example. This cover was popping out. It's not great because the holes here for the clips are broken, but at least it's holding in place. There's one hook here that is holding. Everything else is just flopping here, but you know, the seat is reclined to the front now. Normally it's reclining back, and you can't really see it. So this is where we're gonna leave it. And I said that I was gonna install them in the car, but actually it doesn't make sense. It makes sense to deal with the boot now, install the dash support, maybe the radio and stuff like that, and then the seats. Alright, so now this is what came with the interior kit that goes over, but I don't remember how it was held here. Was it held in any way to this, or was it held somehow there? I don't remember, but to be honest, I think that fits like really well here. I can just tack it like this and then install the dash support. So I think that's how I'm gonna leave it. But before we start installing the dash support, I'm gonna cut it out here. John wants to install a modern star style radio. I even have the stereo here. So we're gonna cut this to the size. It's been cut already. So it is what it is. We're gonna cut it more. We're gonna install the cage for the stereo, and then we're gonna mount it here. Okay, so I run the wiring for the stereo. We have ignition power or accessory power on with ignition. We have permanent power, which I connected to the purple circuit, and the accessory power I connected to the green circuit. We have ground. We have the two front speakers here. We have the two rear speakers here. We have power for the amplifier in the trunk that comes from this fuse, which still has no fuse inside. But we have the fuse holder and the trigger for the amplifier. So these I just put in a harness, and that's how I think I'm gonna have them. Here I opened the holes for the dash support, and hopefully the dash support can still be installed without disturbing these wires. And after it's installed, I'm gonna tuck these somehow under so they're not seen, because here we have an open, that part is seen. So anyway, and here in the back the wires are just hanging. We're gonna cut them shorter later. I just want to install the dash support now. I installed also this angle bracket here. That's for the top end of the dash support, and the dash support itself is cut, and this bracket for the radio is installed. I test fitted it. It fits, even though this looks bent, but it fits nice and tight inside. So let me see if I can install this. Okay, so the center console is installed, and here's how the wiring goes here. Alright, I think this is where we're gonna end this video. Like I said, the car is already finished and John is actually driving it around. I gave it a push at the end, and for the last few episodes I didn't film intros or outros. I just lost track. So that's where we're gonna end this episode, and in the next one we're gonna continue. So thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, sharing and supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.